So now we have transferred our design from our rough draft to our final draft. Now there's no easy way to do it, you just need to redraw it onto your final. When you do draw it onto your final, again, your succulents, you're probably just going to draw it as best you can, but when you do the optical illusions, if your optical illusion is very geometric, make sure you use the ruler. It's very important and it helps a lot in the long run. Now, let's talk a little bit about shading. Now, remember that with the succulent you can either shade with color or with black and white, but you need to use a Sharpie. Now, here are a few tips. If you are going to be shading using blending with color Sharpie, what you want to do is you want to start with a base coat of color. This is the color that you want mostly to show through for your project. Now, when I start shading, I want to shade in here because this is where the shadow is, where the where the pieces meet. So like this. So I'm going to start probably with a lighter color first. So I'm going to make that line. I'll probably layer it a little bit in here. And now you can blend with Sharpies on this paper. This paper is nice and glossy and it helps, the Sharpie dries faster and also the Sharpie will blend really well together. So if you take that, kind of work your way lightly back out. It can look really good shading wise. Do the same on the other side here. Now you can go ahead and continue to get darker. It's a lot easier to go darker than it is to go lighter with Sharpie, obviously. Now, again, I suggest if you are going to use color, try your best not to use black because black can take away from the shading. Usually when you see shadows on something, the shadow is a darker color of the color that you're seeing. So think about that when you're doing it. So again, you want to do the light color as the base. You will put down a little bit of the next darker color, then go back to that lighter color and use it to kind of blend the edges together. And then if you do need to add shadow, try to use just a really dark version of the color you're using. Do your best not to use black. Now, we need to use two different kinds of shading when we're working on our project. So if you do choose color, you need to do either blending, hatching, stippling, scribbling, all that stuff that we talked about in the succulent shading practice. So similar process here. I'm going to do stippling for this one. Now similar process where you want to lay down a base color first and then you're going to go in with a darker color. Now I'm doing stippling here, so I'm going to start with darker colors close to here where the shading is happening the most. And remember, stippling is just all the tiny little dots. And it can be tedious, but depending on how it turns out, it could be really worth it. And as I go out, I'm just going to have lighter dots. So remember that no matter what you're doing for color, you need to have at least two different techniques. This one could also use maybe a little bit of hatching with this color. You just need to use color instead of black and white to make the little lines. And then you might need to come in with a black to make like the little cactus spikes. Like that, just to make it look more like a cacti. Now remember, for black and white, you're going to be using a Sharpie. So first it may help to outline the outside with Sharpie. I'm going to outline this one as well. Now you can add the shading. So you could do either stippling, which I would add the stippling here on these edges. Get a little lighter as you go into the inside here. You can do hatching, little lines. You can do cross-hatching. You can do scribbling. It's totally up to you guys and your preference of shading. But remember, no matter which one you're using, color or black and white, you need to do 2 different shading techniques. That is something you are getting graded on. So, when these are done, and the whole succulent area is done, then you can start working on the optical illusions. Now remember I talked about in the practice that you should try your best to mark the areas, if you're doing something that's like every other black and white, mark the areas that are going to be black and which ones are going to be white. Now, again, one color, one black and white, or this color and this is black and white. Up to you guys. I prefer the background being black and white because it makes it blend into the background more. But either way, this will stand out. So, doesn't matter. Now, you can use pencil to shade in the spots that are going to be black, and it'll erase really well on this paper if you mess up. So again, if you're going to do that, come in with pencil first and do it so that if you mess up, you can erase. And then you're just going to go through. It's going to be a little tedious, but eventually you'll get there and it'll look really good. So I have this optical illusion to work on, and I have this optical illusion to work on. I'll color one part of this in black. Now remember, you want to color these things in fully. That's part of the grading, is coloring things in fully and neatly. So take your time. Don't worry about getting things done quick. Now, usually this illusion is seen with one spot being black, one being gray, one being white. To make a gray, I'm going to just do like some hatching lines just to make it look gray, since I don't currently have a gray Sharpie, but you guys will. That ends drying out, so and then these other ones you're going to just kind of outline. If you have pencil lines that are showing a lot, when the Sharpie is dry, you can erase it. So this should hopefully give you guys a better idea of how to go forward with the final part of the project. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, ask me. I am more than happy to help you guys out. This should not be something that you need to struggle with. I want to make this as easy for you guys as possible. Alright, so this is the final. When the final's done, you'll turn it into Schoology, obviously. Answer the questions that we have on the rubric. Make sure to turn it in with the rubric. That is very important. That's something we've noticed a lot with a lot of projects, is that people forget that they need to turn the final part in with the rubric. So please don't forget that. And that is pretty much it. So I will see you guys in class. I know you guys can do this. These are going to look really great, and I can't wait to see how they look.